Nobody believed in him. His voice had always been shaky, his dreams mocked, and his confidence shattered by years of rejection. He had spent nights in his room singing into the empty air, hoping that someone, anyone, would see the spark he carried inside. But no one ever did. Instead, the world had laughed at him, told him to stop chasing nonsense, told him to get real. His guitar, old and scarred, was his only friend. On that cold evening, he sat on the edge of the city sidewalk, clutching it tightly, as if it were the last piece of hope he had left. The streetlights flickered above him while the crowd moved past, indifferent, not even sparing him a glance. To them, he was invisible, just another broken dreamer on the side of the road. In that silence, his heart echoed with the voices of those who never believed. He could still hear the laughter of people who told him he would never make it, the harsh words of those who doubted his worth. Every memory weighed heavy, crushing him until he nearly believed them all. He lowered his head, too tired to sing, too tired to fight. The dream that once burned inside him now felt like ash. He sat there, silent, forgotten, and hopeless. Then, footsteps approached. His twin brother, who had always watched quietly from the shadows, came and stood beside him. Unlike the rest of the world, this brother never judged, never mocked, never turned away. He was humble, soft-spoken, the kind of soul who believed in love more than applause. He knelt, gently placed a hand on his shoulder, and smiled. Without a word, he took the guitar into his hands. His brother looked up, puzzled, as the soft strum of strings filled the night air. The twin's voice rose, not loud, not flashy, but pure. The song he chose wasn't random. It was Hotel California, a song that carried nostalgia, sorrow, and beauty all in one. At first, only the sound of a few notes reached the people passing by. A couple of heads turned, a few feet slowed. The brother sang with such soul that even strangers felt the sincerity in every note. His voice was calm yet powerful, humble yet filled with emotion. Slowly, the crowd began to gather. At first, just 2 or 3, then 5, then 10. Within minutes, dozens of people surrounded them, phones recording, eyes wide with surprise. The young man who had been invisible moments before now watched in awe as his twin filled the sidewalk with music. He could hardly believe it. For so long, he had been ignored, but now people were clapping, nodding, swaying to the rhythm. An old man wiped away tears, a child smiled brightly, couples leaned into each other as they listened. Something magical was happening right there on the street, something no one could have predicted. The brother didn't sing for fame or attention. He sang with love, with the quiet determination of someone who wanted to give back what the world had stolen from his twin. Every lyric carried weight, every chord struck deep. By the time he reached the chorus, the entire crowd was singing along. Laughter, cheers, and voices blended into a choir of strangers who, for a moment, felt united by the song. The once-forgotten young man stood frozen, tears welling in his eyes. He saw in his brother's voice what he had never been able to see in himself, the beauty of persistence, the strength of love. He realized that even though nobody had believed in him, his twin always had. That night was not about proving the world wrong. It was about proving that kindness, humility, and love could change everything. When the final note lingered in the air, the crowd erupted into applause. Some shouted for more, others filmed eagerly, knowing they had witnessed something extraordinary. The two brothers hugged, their bond stronger than ever. The young man no longer felt invisible. He no longer felt broken. Through his brother's gift, He was reminded that his dream wasn't foolish, and that music wasn't about perfection or fame. It was about connection. Nobody believed in him until that night. The sidewalk that had once been a place of shame became the stage of his redemption. A performance born not of ambition, but of love transformed everything. The crowd dispersed, but the memory stayed with them. Proof that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can create the biggest miracles. And for the young man, the dream was alive again. This story is a reminder that even when the world doubts us, one person's belief can reignite hope. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to The Kind World, because stories like this remind us all of the beauty of humanity and the power of never giving up. He dreamed of singing. It wasn't just about music, it was about being heard, about proving that his voice mattered. But every audition ended the same way. Judges shaking their heads, whispers of disappointment, laughter echoing in the background. His friends drifted away, calling his dream foolish. His own peers mocked him, saying he should stop embarrassing himself. Night after night, he sat alone in his room, strumming the guitar, trying to push his cracked, breaking voice into something stronger. But no matter how much he tried, the sound only reminded him of his failures. The walls of his room became witnesses to his struggle, filled with echoes of songs cut short and dreams swallowed by doubt. He would look in the mirror and see not a singer, not a dreamer, but the failure everyone else saw. Slowly, painfully, he started to believe the cruel words that haunted him. Maybe they were right. Maybe his voice didn't matter. Now, on the busy sidewalk, he sat hunched over his guitar. People walked past as though he wasn't there, their eyes sliding over him like he was invisible. He strummed a few soft chords, hoping someone might stop, might listen, but the crowd kept moving. No applause, no kindness, just footsteps fading into the night. His shoulders sagged, his head lowered. In that moment, surrounded by strangers yet completely alone, he felt the weight of every rejection crash down on him. The world didn't believe in him, and worse, neither did he anymore. His twin brother had always been different, quiet where he was loud, steady where he was restless, humble where he was desperate to prove himself. For weeks, he had been watching silently, seeing the pain that rejection had carved into his brother's spirit. He saw the slump in his shoulders, the way his eyes had lost their fire, the way he clutched the guitar not as a dream, but as a reminder of failure. Yet deep inside, the brother knew the dream was not dead. It only needed a spark. That night, on the crowded sidewalk, he walked over and placed a gentle hand on his brother's shoulder. No words, no speeches, just a soft smile that said, "I'm here. I believe in you." He took the guitar, his touch calm and unhurried, as if the weight of the moment didn't scare him. His brother looked up, confused but curious, as the first soft chords rang out, and then he began to sing. It wasn't loud, it wasn't showy, it was real. His voice carried something the busy street wasn't expecting. Pure, soulful, emotional. Every note of Hotel California floated into the night air like a secret finally being told. People passing by slowed their steps. A woman holding groceries stopped for just a moment, tilting her head. A young man scrolling through his phone lowered it, listening. At first, only a few heads turned, but there was something magnetic in his voice, something honest. He didn't sing for the crowd or for fame. He sang for his brother, for the dream that the world had crushed, for the love that no rejection could erase. And in that moment, the sidewalk wasn't just a street, it was a stage, and the song wasn't just music, it was hope. Something began to change in the air, as if the city itself had paused to listen. The first few listeners who had stopped were now rooted in place, eyes locked on the humble twin pouring his heart into the song. One by one, more people slowed their hurried steps. A businessman who had been rushing home set his briefcase down, captivated by the sound. A young couple stopped holding hands just to record the moment. Soon, the quiet corner of the street turned into a small circle of strangers, bound together by the melody. The music wasn't perfect, but it was alive. His voice carried a sincerity that polished stages and bright lights could never manufacture. It cracked in places, swelled in others, and yet every imperfection made it more human, more real. A homeless man leaning against the wall pressed a hand to his chest, his eyes welling with tears. The song seemed to reach inside everyone listening, reminding them of something long forgotten: hope, love, the beauty of simplicity. The young man, the dreamer who had once been laughed at, could hardly believe what he was seeing. His twin, the brother who had always stood quietly in the background, was doing what he himself had failed to do. He wasn't just drawing a crowd, he was touching hearts. Pride and disbelief warred inside him, but above it all rose something stronger: gratitude. For the first time in his life, he wasn't alone in his dream. His brother's song was his redemption. The crowd clapped, some swaying, others softly singing along to the chorus. Phones lit up the night as strangers captured the moment, eager to share the magic with the world. There were no critics here, no harsh voices, no rejections, only people united by the power of a song. The sidewalk had turned into a stage, and the city into an audience. And for the first time, the world listened. Not to fame, not to a star polished by industry hands, but to a humble brother, singing with love from the deepest part of his soul. Applause thundered across the sidewalk, echoing louder than the city traffic. People were cheering, clapping, and shouting for more, as if they had stumbled into a concert they never expected. The humble brother lowered the guitar with a modest smile, his cheeks flushed not from pride, but from the simple joy of giving. And then, something beautiful happened. The once forgotten young man, the dreamer who had been mocked, pushed aside and silenced, stepped forward. For a moment he hesitated, uncertain if the crowd would turn on him as others had before. But then he saw the faces lit with admiration, the strangers who had been moved to tears, and he realized this was different. He stood taller than he ever had, not because of fame, but because of love. His eyes glistened with gratitude as he turned to his twin, and the brothers embraced tightly, holding on to each other like two halves finally made whole. In that hug was everything: years of rejection, silent sacrifices, unspoken loyalty, and an unbreakable bond. The crowd roared even louder, their applause now a celebration not of music alone, but of resilience, hope, and brotherhood. The young man who had once been invisible now felt seen. He was no longer the boy mocked for his cracked voice, no longer the failure labeled by others. That night transformed him. His brother's song had given him something no audition, no stage, no recognition ever could: the reminder that he was worthy, that his dream still had life, and that he had never been alone. Nobody believed in him until that moment. And it wasn't because of fame, talent shows, or spotlights. It was because of one act of love, one humble performance on a street corner that changed everything. That night wasn't just about music. It was redemption. It was kindness. It was proof that second chances exist, that broken dreams can be mended, and that love has the power to resurrect hope. If this story touched your heart, give it a thumbs up. Share it with someone who needs hope, and don't forget to subscribe to The Kind World for more stories that remind us of the beauty of humanity. Because in the end, it's not about who stands on the biggest stage. It's about who chooses to sing with love, no matter where they stand. As the screen fades, the brothers are seen smiling, arms around each other, the words glowing softly over them. Believe in kindness. Believe in second chances.